Hello and good evening, students, and welcome to Baiju's Exam Prep IES. So today we'll be having another session of weekly current affairs. So before we start the session, just let me know whether I'm audible and I'm visible properly to everyone. Okay, great. So here is an announcement that from 4th June 2023, we have already started our mains test series. So do not forget to attend these test series. If you gave the prelims, if you cleared it, if you did not clear it, if you did not give the prelims, in all the cases, you must attend these mains test series in order to help you understand what kind of questions they will come in your exam. How will you be able to manage your time in that particular duration? Okay, so do not forget to attend these sessions. The details of that, it must be available to all of you. Hi, good evening everyone. Okay, so here are our topics. So you can see that we have 8 topics, but these are just the numbers. We effectively will be dealing with 11 topics because these are very separate topics. Okay, so 5 topics are clubbed in 2 topics itself. So we'll be dealing with 11 topics in total. So we'll need to go on quickly. Just type in your doubts. If you have any, I'll try to resolve them. Okay, so we'll start with the first topic for the day, that is about chikungunya vaccine. The context is that a chikungunya vaccine, according to a study published in the Lancet magazine, which is a premier magazine related to medicine and health of UK. So according to this study, it was found that a chikungunya vaccine, it has proved to be highly effective, 98% effective during a third stage human trial. So because this is highly effective, so after third stage human trial, what happens? The vaccine gets its final approval. So if it can come into the market, if it can be commercially launched, then that will be very beneficial in reducing the amount of chikungunya cases in the world. If Am I audible? Am I visible to everyone? Okay. If I'm not, just refresh your screen once. So let us take a look at what is chikungunya all about. All of you must know that chikungunya, it is spread by mosquitoes. So it is a vector-borne disease. It requires a vehicle. The virus requires a vehicle to be transferred from one place to another. This vehicle or vector is the mosquito. So there are 2 types of mosquitoes that can cause this disease. One is Aedes aegypti. Now Aedes aegypti, apart from chikungunya, it can also cause diseases like dengue, like Zika, yellow fever, and Mayaro. There is another mosquito known as Aedes albopictus, which can also cause this disease, and this particular mosquito is also known as Asian tiger mosquito. And the other diseases that it can cause include dengue and filariasis. Okay, so 2 types of diseases can be spread by this particular mosquito. The disease was first identified in the country of Tanzania in 1952. After that, there have been many breakouts of this disease in the world. However, since the year 2004, the spread of this disease, it started increasing a lot because it was found that the chikungunya virus, which is also known as CHIKV, this particular virus, it had adapted itself in order to spread fast using this particular vector as well. So since 2004, there have been an increase in the outbreaks, both in terms of frequency, how frequently the outbreaks were taking place, and in terms of spatial extent, in what all locations can the outbreak take place. Okay, I'll try to write in a larger font. Okay, so the symptoms of this disease, what are the main symptoms? First is fever, second is joint pains, joint swelling, muscle pains, rashes, headache. So these are the main symptoms. However, the biggest thing that is related to chikungunya, the biggest symptom is that of joint pains. In fact, the word chikungunya, it actually means to get contorted. To get contorted, that is, your joints, they get weak and they start paining a lot. This word, it is derived from a language which is known as Kima Konda. So in the Kima Konda language, chikungunya means to get contorted. Okay. Now this Now, the symptoms of this disease, they are very similar to the diseases of Zika and dengue. And also the mosquitoes that are causing the disease, they are similar to the mosquitoes cause, they are same as the mosquitoes causing dengue, and one of them also causes Zika. So that is why it is very highly likely that in many cases, chikungunya, it gets misdiagnosed as Zika and dengue. Okay. Moreover, because of climate change, what is happening is that this disease, it is spreading to more and more locations. The spatial extent of this disease is increasing. Earlier it was just in the tropical belt that this disease was spreading, but because of global warming, even in the temperate zone, the temperature conditions, they are suitable for these mosquitoes to be born and to spread the diseases. Okay, so both the latitudinal and the altitudinal extent of the disease, they are increasing. About Kima Konda, I'll say Kima Konda, it is an African language. Okay, in this language, chikungunya, this word has been taken from this Kima Konda language, and in this language, this word means to get contorted, to get disshapen like this. Instead of having hands like this, your hands get disshapen like this. Okay. So next, what about testing, treatment, and prevention of this disease? So the testing can be done in two ways. One is the antigen testing or the RT-PCR test. Antigen, it is basically the virus that is causing the disease. This test, it detects whether your body has that antigen, has that virus protein, viral protein that is causing that disease in your body. Okay, so testing can be done via RT-PCR, which is also an antigen testing. Most of you must know about it because during COVID as well, RT-PCR testing was used. Or another type of test is antibody test. Antibodies are what? They are various proteins that are released by your body to attack and neutralize the antigens and to eliminate the disease from your body. So if your body has that disease, has that antigen, then your body also releases certain types of antibodies to neutralize those antigens. Okay, so antibody test can also help in determining whether or not you have had that disease or not. Clear until now? Also, please note that as of now, there is no treatment that is available against the virus. So there is no treatment against the disease of dengue. Sorry, the disease of chikungunya. However, its symptoms, they can be reduced by taking various medicines. Like to reduce your fever, you can take paracetamol. However, that paracetamol will not cure the entire disease in your body. Yes, it is a viral disease, okay? So medicines and therapy, it can help with the symptoms. Yeah, like physiotherapy, it can help you with your joint pains, with your muscular pains. Medicines like paracetamol, it can help with fever. So how can we prevent this disease? Prevention is the best cure because we do not have a cure for chikungunya. So prevention is by controlling the population of the mosquitoes in any area, minimizing the skin exposure so that mosquitoes cannot come and bite you on your skin, and using mosquito nets while sleeping. So these are the simple preventions, same as any kind of mosquito related diseases. Now, what about the new vaccine? What is so special about this new vaccine? See, this vaccine, it has this name, VLA1533, and it has been developed by a French biotech company, which is known as Valneva. So it contains live attenuated virus. Attenuated means weakened. So the virus in the vaccine, it is not dead. It is live, but it has been weakened. So once it is entering your body, because it is weakened, it cannot cause the disease. However, some proteins it can release, and those proteins, they can be detected by your immune system, and necessary precautions by the immune system can be taken. There can be necessary development of antibodies. Okay, so this vaccine, it contains a live attenuated, live weakened virus, and it requires only a single dosage. A single dosage. Like for many COVID vaccines, you require 2 doses, right, for it to be effective. This vaccine, it requires only a single dose to be effective. Adlan, your question is that if a person is suffering from chikungunya and he takes some medicines, is there any side effect for chikungunya vaccination? See, as of now, there is no medicine for chikungunya as such. Also, this vaccine, it has been developed, but it is not commercialized. Okay, so please note that. So, because they are taking the medication, it is not really clear whether or not there can be an impact of the vaccine. Okay, because we do not have the medicine, we do not have the vaccine. So this vaccine, it will be preventive in nature. It will be preventive in nature. So anyone who has not had that disease, they can also take this vaccine. For example, if there is someone who wants to visit a country which has high rates of chikungunya, then that person can take that vaccine, and the vaccine will protect that person from that disease in that location. Yes, it is similar to COVID vaccine. However, COVID vaccine was also a viral vaccine, a vaccine for virus. Chikungunya is also a vaccine for virus. The virus that causes this disease, it is known as chikungunya virus or chikungunya virus. Nazakar, it is not a curative vaccine, it is a preventive vaccine. Preventive vaccine, it prevents your body from getting that disease. Curative vaccine, if you have that disease and you take that vaccine, then your body, it will be able to fight that disease. Okay, so it is not curative, it is a preventive vaccine. Bhumika, in very minor number of cases, this particular disease is fatal. In very minimal cases. Okay, so usually through therapy and through taking vaccines and a lot of fluids and other things, the person, they can get treated of this disease. Okay, so now we come to this portion about vaccine trials. Now this particular vaccine, it has shown 98% success rate in case of phase 3 trials. So what are phase 3 trials? What are the different trials a vaccine goes through? So this is a normal scenario. In normal cases, what happens is that vaccine development, it takes 3 to 10 years. So first, there is a laboratory and animal study, which is known as preclinical trial. So in this preclinical trial, first of all, it is identified that which antigen do we need to target. And then finally the vaccine is developed and its efficacy, it is tested at this stage. Then comes the phase 1 trial. In the phase 1 trial, finally the human trial start. Human trial phase 1. In this phase, dozens of participants, that is less than 100, somewhere between 12 to 25 participants, they are taken and they are given this vaccine, and it is identified whether this vaccine it is safe for humans, and what dosage, what vaccine dose level needs to be given to any person in order to get a particular response. Next, we have the phase 2 human trial. In this, hundreds of participants they take part, and again the safety is checked whether this vaccine it is safe for use, and immunogenicity, whether this vaccine it is producing the desired level of immune response. So first phase was checking the safety of the vaccine and what is the minimum dosage that is required for the vaccine. One dose, and in that dose how much ml of vaccine needs to be put in your body. Okay, so that is decided in phase 1. In phase 2, it is decided whether the vaccine is safe, same as here, and whether it is producing desired immune response. In the third phase, thousands of participants they come together for the trial. Here again, safety it is identified, and efficacy, which means the ability to produce the desired result against the antigen, whether the body it is properly targeting the antigen or not. So that is tested in phase 3. Okay, so phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, these are the three phases, after which the final registration of the vaccine is done. Now this whole process it takes 3 to 10 years. Now, please note that this chikungunya vaccine, it has passed the phase 3. However, it is still not registered and available for commercial usage. Now, compare that to the development of the COVID vaccine. Here, we were taking 3 to 10 years. We were starting with preclinical, then came phase 1, then came phase 2, and then phase 3. After each were completed, then came the next phase. However, please see over here, there was much overlap of the trial phases. Preclinical, it overlapped with the phase 1, phase 1 overlapped with phase 2, so that the whole process was contracted, so that we got a final vaccine for COVID within 2 years of start of the research. This was because it was an emergency situation. It was an emergency situation. We wanted to save as many people as we could. So this is about the first topic. Vivek, there was so much overlapping in case of COVID because we wanted quick results. We wanted to quickly develop the vaccine because so many people, they were dying because of the disease. Pulkit, yes, this disease has been identified back in 1957, but because it was mostly a tropical disease, it was mostly affecting the developing and less developed world. There was not much investment that was done in the research for this disease. So that is why it took such a long time for development of a vaccine. Moreover, it was a little difficult for development of this vaccine. There have been many candidates, but they have not worked properly in the trial phase. This is the first time that this particular vaccine has worked so nicely in the trial phase. Okay. Sorry, this was 1952, not 1957. Thank you, Ragini. Okay, so now we come to the practice question. Consider the following statement regarding chikungunya. It is spread only via Aedes aegypti. There are no vaccines that are commercially available for the disease. It has symptoms similar to Zika and malaria. How many of these statements they are correct? So I'm starting this. So just try to answer this. Okay, so many of you were not able to give the correct answer. So I'll clarify it. See, this is incorrect. It is not only Aedes aegypti. The Asian tiger mosquito, it also spreads this disease. Yes, there are no vaccines that are commercially available. This, however, is incorrect. It was stated in the previous slides that the symptoms, they are similar to Zika and dengue and not Zika and malaria. Okay, Zika and dengue. So this is also incorrect, and your correct answer is option A. This topic is related to science and tech. Now we come to the second topic, again from science and tech, which is about synthetic embryos. Now, synthetic embryos, also known as embryo models, they have been created by scientists at two universities. The collaborative research of scientists at two universities, that is Caltech or California Tech and Cambridge University. So this is in USA, this is in UK. So this was announced. So as of now, there is no paper that has been published regarding this result, but this was announced by the scientists involved in this research during an annual meeting of the International Society for Stem Cell Research. Now, what are stem cells? Now, these are the cells which are not at all specialized and which can develop into any type of cell of the body. So these cells, they have a potential to develop into different types of cells of the body. So there are two types of stem cells. We have the embryonic stem cells, the stem cells that are present in the embryos. And we have the adult stem cells that are present in us, in all of us. Okay, in you, in me, in all of us, there are certain stem cells that are present, like in our bone marrow. Okay, so there are two types of stem cells, embryonic and adult stem cells. Now there are three types of properties that are associated with the stem cells: the totipotency, pluripotency, and multipotency. So totipotent stem cells, or which are also known as omnipotent stem cells, they can develop into any type of stem cell of the embryo or extra embryo, that is placental stem cells. See, embryos, they can get connected to a tissue called placenta through the umbilical cord, right? And through that, it gets all the nutrition from the mother's body, right? So the totipotent stem cells, they can develop into any of the cells within the embryo or any extra embryo stem cells like the cell or extra embryo cells like placenta cells. Okay. So totipotent, they are the most potent type of stem cells, but they are present only in the embryos. So only embryonic stem cells, they have totipotency property. Next, we have the pluripotent stem cells. Now, pluripotent stem cells, they can develop into any type of cell of the human body, any type of cell of the human body. Okay. So we have so many types of cells. We have cells, our blood cells, we have neurons, we have cells that line our respiratory system, and so on. So pluripotent stem cells, they can develop into any kind of stem cell of the human body, but they cannot develop into any type of extra embryonic stem cell like totipotent stem cell were able to. They were able to develop placental cells as well. Pluripotent cells, they cannot do that. Then we have multipotent stem cells. Now, multipotent stem cells, they develop into a number of cells of a particular lineage. See, pluripotent stem cells, they can be of three types: endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. Okay, so pluripotent cells, they can develop into endodermic cells, mesodermic cells, or ectodermic cells. Now, these are multipotent stem cells. So that means that ectoderm type of cells, they can develop only into particular types of cells like lung cells, like pancreatic cells. They cannot develop into heart muscle cells or red blood cells. They can only develop into a particular a particular line of stem cell of cells. The mesothermic cells, they can develop into a particular type of cells, like either heart muscular cells or red blood cells or bone muscles or connective tissues, and so on. Then ectoderm cells, these cells, they develop further into cells like the skin cells, the neuron cells, and so on. Okay, so multipotent cells, they can develop into multiple types of cells of a particular lineage only. Okay, so I hope, okay, so I'll many of you have doubts, I'll just clarify this quickly once again. See, what is the difference between totipotent and pluripotent? Both can develop into any type of cell. However, totipotent, they have the ability to develop into extra embryonic cells as well, extra body related cells. So embryo, it has these types of cells, all these types of cells. It is embryo that gets developed into an individual. So totipotent cell not just can develop into any cell of that individual, but also they can develop into placental cell that is connecting that particular embryo to its mother. Okay, so totipotent cell can develop into placental cell as well. However, pluripotent cannot. Multipotent, they can develop only in particular type of cells. For example, the endodermic multipotent cells, they can develop only into lung cells or pancreatic cells. Mesodermic multipotent cells, they can develop only into heart muscles, bones, or muscular or connective tissues. Ectodermic multipotent cells, they can develop only into skin or neuron. Okay, so embryonic stem cells, the stem cells in the embryos, they can be of all these three types. However, the stem cells in the individuals, in the adults, they can be only of these two types. So Mohammed, I hope your doubt is also clear. Extra body cells means cells outside the embryo, like the placental cell. Placenta is not a part of that individual that is growing inside the womb, right? It is an extra embryonic tissue, right? So totipotent, they can develop into that as well. Yeah. Okay. So now, what is the significance of this development of a synthetic embryo? Yes, Kishan, totipotent is omnipotent. Valandina, yes, they can develop into placental cell only apart from embryonic cells. Yes, it is a slightly complex title, but I'm pretty sure it will be covered in your science and tech portion, okay? Yes, synthetic means artificial. We are coming to all that right now. Okay, so what is the significance of these synthetic embryos? See, usually embryos, they are created by what? The fusion of the egg and the sperm. Okay, from the males we get the sperm, from the females we get the egg. When they fuse, it eventually leads to the development of an embryo. However, in this case, what has happened? The embryo has been developed using a stem cell and not by using an egg and a sperm. So we just used a stem cell and it was multiplied to create a synthetic embryo. However, please note that it is not exactly a synthetic embryo, it is more of a semi-synthetic embryo, because this stem cell that was taken for the development of this embryo, it was taken from a traditional embryo that was developed by fusing an egg and a sperm. Okay, so this synthetic embryo, it was developed by using a stem cell from a normal embryo. Normal embryo, it was created by the fusion of egg and a sperm. So this was the first time that this was done for the humans. This was done for development of a human embryo. There have been studies that have been done regarding development of such embryos, such synthetic embryos for other animals like rats or mouse, like mouse and monkeys. The same team that developed the synthetic human embryo developed a synthetic embryo of mouse, and for monkey it was done in China. In fact, this embryo of the monkey, it was eventually placed within the womb of a female monkey. However, an individual did not get developed. The pregnancy failed in that female monkey. Okay. Traditional embryo is an embryo which is created by the fusion of the egg from the female and the sperm from the male. Yes, Atul, the synthetic embryo will have the same DNA as that of the stem cell. Yes. So this was done for the first time for humans, and earlier studies have been done for mouse as well as monkey. Now, why are we doing it? What is it used for? See, there is a law, global law, that any embryo, it cannot be kept for more than 14 days outside the human body. Or it needs to be either placed in the human body within 14 days or it needs to be destroyed. It cannot be kept for more than 14 days. And what happens is that for 14 days, the scientists, they can use this embryo for their studies. However, after that comes a black period where for a few amount of duration, they do not have anything to study upon. Later on, once the pregnancy of a female, it increases in time, then there are certain scan reports, or there can be certain discarded embryos because of abortions or miscarriages, which can be taken for further study. Okay, so there is this black period, also known as black box period, where the scientists, they do not have anything to study upon to understand how the embryo it is developing. So in case synthetic embryos, they can be properly developed, then this black box period of embryo development, it can also be studied upon by the scientists. Rashi, you are correct. Yes, it is made up of stem cells taken from the embryo. Then why are we calling it synthetic? See, because it is not because it is not created in a traditional manner. Okay, it is created in a lab. So that is why, only because of that, we are calling it synthetic, just to differentiate it from the natural. Okay. So this understanding the embryo development during this black box period, it will help us in further understanding the reasons for infertility and early pregnancy loss. Okay. Okay, black box period, I'll repeat once again. See, any embryo that is created in a lab, it can be kept only for 14 days. It cannot be kept beyond 14 days, the natural embryos that are created. Okay. So after that comes a period where the scientists or the researchers, they do not have anything to study upon regarding embryonic development. Okay, because it is not quite visible in any kind of pregnancy scans as of now. And if there is a failure of pregnancy, even in those cases, it cannot be understood that why this failure has occurred, even if we study that embryo. Okay, so after this comes a phase when the embryo, when the child, it is finally visible in the scans, and then again the research can be started on the embryonic development. However, this period, In this period, there is nothing that is available, no resource that is available for the researchers to study embryonic development upon, right? So that is why this phase is known as the black phase or the black box period of embryonic development. We do not have much research that has been done during this phase of embryonic development. If we are able to do this research using these synthetic embryos, then we will be able to better understand why infertility occurs or why there is early pregnancy loss. Why during this period there can be certain reasons for pregnancy loss, for miscarriages. Okay. Yes. So now you'll wonder that why is black box period not applicable on synthetic embryos? Here is why. See, we have rules for the real embryos. We do not have rules for the synthetic ones. No rules they have been created. Scientific research, it has far outpaced the actual law. So that is why we do not have any kind of rules for synthetic embryo as of now. Okay, so that is one reason, that is one legal issue, that why synthetic embryos they can be used for beyond 14 days. However, there are certain concerns that if we use it beyond 14 days and it starts growing into a living creature like the normal embryos, then what will be done then? Okay, so that is a big question mark, a big legal issue, again explaining how scientific research is outpacing the law. See, we know that it will be illegal to plant these synthetic embryos in the human body. That is for sure. We cannot plant it in the human body unless it is a normal embryo. Okay, so this is for sure. But then what will happen to it? What duration can it stay? What duration after which it needs to be destroyed? That is nothing like that is clear as of now. Okay, so these are the various legal issues that are associated with the synthetic embryos. Okay. Just a second. Yes, Venkatesh has asked if embryo is developed using the stem cell of the traditional embryo, then they'll have similar genetics. Yes, they'll have the similar genetic system. So, Jeet, there is no law regarding this as of now. Okay. Outpacing means that scientific research is being done at such a fast pace that at the same pace the policy makers they are not able to make the laws. Okay, now we come to the practice question. Which of the following statements are correct with reference to stem cells often in the limelight? Now this is a PYQ that was asked in the year 2012. Okay, stem cells can only be obtained from mammals. They can be used to test new drugs. They can be used for medical therapy. You have to select the correct option. There might be a few facts you might not be knowing. I clarify that after this poll ends. Okay. So most of you are aware of this, I guess. See, first option, stem cells can only is the word, can be obtained from mammals. This will definitely be incorrect because all the living beings, the plants, the animals, other birds, they all have stem cells in their bodies. Okay, so this is incorrect. So that means this is eliminated, this is eliminated. So that means option 3, it is correct. Yes, it can be used for medical therapy. In fact, the bone marrow therapy, this bone marrow therapy that is often used for treatment of diseases like cancer and other diseases, it has been in use for quite some time. It is also a stem cell therapy because I stated how adult stem cells, they are located in your bone marrow. What about second statement? Is it correct? Yes, stem cells, they can be used for development of many kinds of new drugs. These cells, they can be multiplied within the laboratories, and the drugs, they can be tested upon these stem cells before going for any kind of human trials. Okay, so this is also correct, and B is your correct answer. Yes, so Kanishk has rightly said that how UPSC has eliminated the elimination technique, but because this is a PYQ, that is why I've taken it as it is. However, in these days, you will get only one statement is correct, only two statements are correct, and like that. So in this case, only two statements, they will be correct. Okay, I'll from the next time, I'll give some more time. I'll give you 15 seconds for attempting the question, okay? Now, the next topic is related to polity. It is about general consent to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Now, this has been in news for quite some time, and this time it is in news because the state of Tamil Nadu, it has withdrawn this general consent to the CBI to investigate cases within the state. Now, what do you understand by general consent? What are the types of consent we have with regards to states and the CBI? See, CBI, it was developed under this act, that is DPSE Act of 1946. DPSE Act, Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, under which the CBI, it gets its statutory powers from. However, the section 6 of this particular law, it states that CBI cannot undertake any kind of investigation in the states unless the states provide it with a permission. Okay, so for any kind of investigation, the CBI needs the permission of the state. And this is the clause that differentiates the CBI from the NIA, the National Investigation Agency. So, National Investigation Agency, it has a blanket consent to investigate in any kind of case that has been allocated to it. However, the CBI needs a consent from the states before starting any investigation or even before registering any case about any particular state. So CBI, it must get consent before starting or beginning the investigation of any kind of case. So what are the types of the consent that can be given to the CBI? First is the case specific consent, that this case has occurred, you go and take permission. Then the second case, you go and take permission for that. Case by case, for every case, each case CBI has to go and take the permission. Then to prevent the delays, the time delays that take place because of these case specific permissions, because you have to send an application, the state has to give the consent, so a lot of time it gets spent in that, and the investigation, it starts lagging. So that is why the general consent formula was adopted, that states will give a general consent to CBI, so that CBI does not have to come to the state to take permission for every case. They'll have a general consent. If there is any case related to that state, CBI can start their investigation then and there. Okay. So what do you understand by general consent? We have understood that general consent means a blanket consent by the states to the CBI. So this allows the CBI to operate seamlessly in the state. It does not have to keep on going and asking for permissions. However, if the consent is withdrawn, there will be a lot of impacts of that on the investigative approach. So first, it will increase the timelines because CBI will have to go and take permission for all the cases. There is no kind of fresh case. It can be registered by the CBI against any central government official or even any private person that is residing within the state without the express permission of the state. Okay, so if there is any all India service officer that is in working in that state, and they have conducted some they are in some corruption case, then the CBI, if they want to investigate even that person who is actually under the central government, even for that the CBI will require the permission of the state. Also, any CBI officer, they will lose their status of police officers once they enter the state. Okay, so if they are entering Tamil Nadu from now on, they'll be a general civilian, they won't be a police officer. Moreover, the CBI, please note, CBI, however, will retain the power to investigate any cases that are registered before the consent is withdrawn. For example, if there is any case that was registered in the state of Tamil Nadu in, say, May, in the month of May, then the CBI, they will have the power to investigate in that case, because during that time the CBI had the general consent. Now on, if any case it takes place in Tamil Nadu, CBI for its investigation will have to take a case by case approval. CBI can still investigate in cases where the individuals, they belong to these states, but the case has been registered in some other state. For example, the case was registered in the state of Madhya Pradesh. However, the individual involved, they reside in Tamil Nadu. So Madhya Pradesh, it still has the general consent given to the CBI, right? So in such a case, the CBI will still able to start their investigation in the case because it was not registered in Tamil Nadu. Moreover, there is no clarity as of now whether the CBI, they can conduct any kind of search or raid in such states for old cases. They can still conduct the investigation, but search and raids, they require special kind of permissions. Only police officers can do that, right? So there is no clarity whether the CBI officers can directly go in that state and conduct search and raids for as a part of their investigation. Also, please note that in the cases where a person has been caught red-handed taking any kind of bribe, in such cases there won't be any required of consent. The CBI can take a cognizance of such cases and start their investigation. Okay, so this is what is the impact of withdrawal. No new cases can be registered. However, the old registered cases, for those the CBI can still conduct the investigation. Sort of red-handed, it means that they were like, many people saw them taking it. There were many witnesses for that particular act, or it was captured on a camera or something like that. Exactly, caught on the spot. Now, what are the other states that have already withdrawn this general consent? So currently, right now, there are 10 states where the consent has been withdrawn. So what are these? First state to withdraw this consent was Mizoram in the year 2015. After that, Andhra Pradesh also withdrew it in 2018. However, this decision was reversed in 2019. So, again, CBI got the general consent in Andhra Pradesh in 2019. West Bengal also removed it in 2018, just a day after Andhra Pradesh removed it. In 2019, the state of Chhattisgarh removed it. Then Punjab, Rajasthan, Kerala, Jharkhand, and Maharashtra, they all removed it in 2020. However, Maharashtra, it reversed its decision in 2022. Then Meghalaya and Telangana, they removed this in 2022, and Tamil Nadu, latest one in 2023. So there are 10 states. 12 are stated here. However, two of them, they reversed this decision. So as of now, there are 10 states which have withdrawn their general consent from the CBI. So now again, we have the practice question. Okay, withdrawn means that they have taken away the general consent. There were two types of consent, the general one and the case specific. So in case of case specific, what used to happen? If the particular case has been registered, the CBI needs to take the permission of the state for that case and start the investigation. Then the second case, take permission and start the investigation. In case of general, they did not have to go to the state every time to get permission for investigation. So general consent has been withdrawn. That means now the CBI will have to go to the state for every case to get a permission before starting their procedure. The reason why the states are withdrawing the consent, many states they have said that CBI is being misused, and that is why they are withdrawing the consent. So that is what is being said by the states. Okay, now we come to the practice question. Consider the following with reference to Central Bureau of Investigation, which was in the news recently. The CBI works under the Department of Personnel Ministry, which is under Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions of Government of India. It is also the nodal police agency in India that coordinates investigations on behalf of Interpol, International Police, in its member countries. Okay, so I'm starting the poll. Just try to give the answer. I'm giving you more time this time, 15 seconds. Valandana, it is an executive decision. Withdrawing of the consent is an executive decision. It does not require passing of any bill. Okay, so most of you have given the correct answer, that is C. Yes, CBI, it works under the Department of Personnel of this ministry. And yes, it is the nodal agency for coordinating any kind of investigations related to Interpol. So Interpol, for every country, Interpol has one nodal agency which assists the Interpol in any kind of investigation in that particular country. So if Interpol has any case related to India, the CBI will assist the Interpol. Okay. So yes, please note CBI is not a statutory body. However, it is getting its power from a particular law. Now we move to our fourth topic, which is about MQ9 Reaper, Anjadeep and Shanshodhak. This is related to defense, which is a part of science and tech. So India is going to acquire 31 MQ9B Reapers from USA. Also, there are two ships that have been indigenously built in India and that have been launched recently. These are Anjadeep and Shanshodhak. Indigenously built, that means they have been constructed within India with 80% of indigenization. Indigenization, that means that 80% of its components, they were made within the country. Okay. So first, let us understand about MQ9 Reaper. See, the Defense Acquisition Council. Now, this is the council which is the highest decision-making body regarding any kind of defense acquisitions by India. So this council, it has approved the procurement of MQ9 Reaper for India, for the Indian military. Now, after the DAC has approved this, the Cabinet Committee on Security, it will need to give a final approval, and then we'll be able to get these MQ9 Reaper UAVs. Okay, so 15 are being acquired for the Indian Navy, 8 for the Indian Army, and 8 for the Indian Air Force. The maritime variant of MQ9 Reaper, it has another name, that is Sea Guardian. Now, it is an unmanned aerial vehicle. Basically like a remote controlled plane. Okay, so it does not require any person to sit inside it in order for it to fly. So it is an unmanned aerial vehicle. It has certain arms which it can fire on certain targets if needed. It is built by a private company called General Atomics Aeronautical Systems, GAASI, which is a US based company. Now, what are the features of MQ-9? Sahil Sea Guardian is just a variant, a maritime variant of MQ-9 Reaper. Okay. So, what are the features of this? Maritime variant, that means it can be used by the Navy. It can be used for any operations above the oceans, above the water bodies. First, endurance, or the time for which it can continuously fly in the air. It is more than 27 hours. In fact, for the maritime variant, it is 30 hours. It has a speed of 240 ktas. Now, ktas, it is a unit that is used to identify, used to measure the speed of unmanned aerial vehicles. Its full form is knots true air speed. Now, it can work up till an altitude of 50,000 feet. Okay, 50,000 feet, which is more than 15,000 meter. The payload capacity that it can carry, it is 3,850 pounds, which in kilograms is 1,746. Out of which 1,361 kg will be external stores. That is beyond its weight. It can carry 1,361 kilograms of stuff within itself. No, Ragini, you do not need to remember these numbers. I'm just telling you so that you have an idea. So now this MQ-9 Reaper, it can be used for any kind of intelligence gathering, that is gathering the information about the enemies. It can be used for surveillance, that is collecting, that is close observation of any suspected spy or suspected location where you feel that enemies are residing. Or it can also be used for reconnaissance operations. Reconnaissance means military observation of any kind of military operation of a region in order to locate any enemy or identify their strategic features. What all are the enemies carrying? What all stuff do they have? What all kind of weapons do they have? So this MQ-9 Reaper, it can be used for all these kinds of operations. So if it can be weaponized, it can target strategic targets both in the mountain regions as well as in the maritime or the sea regions where the normal weapons they cannot reach. So this will increase our reach in the mountainous regions, in the mountainous terrain where it is difficult for our planes to fly. It will be a big danger for the pilots if they fly in those regions. So that is why we can use these unmanned aerial vehicles or these specialized drones for this purpose. Now, India, it is not the first time that we'll be using MQ-9. We had leased two of these MQ-9s just after the Galwan Valley clashes that happened in 2020 with China. So since then we have been using them. We had just leased them, taken them on rent. We had not bought them at that time. We are planning to buy 31 of these Reapers right now. Now, what are the other nations? What are the other nations that have this particular technology, have these MQ-9 Reapers? USA definitely has it. The US Air Force, the US Homeland Security or Internal Security Department, and NASA, they have this Reaper. Apart from that, the air forces of only four other countries apart from USA have this particular UAV. Now, India will become the sixth country to have it. What are the four countries? We have UK, Italy, France, and Spain. So air forces of these four nations, they also have MQ-9 Reaper. So you can see it looks like this. Okay, it looks like this. It does not require any person to sit inside it for any kind of operations. It can be remotely controlled. Now, what is Anjadeep? See, Anjadeep is the third ASMSWC of India. That is anti-submarine shallow water craft. So it can target submarines and it travels in shallow water, mostly in the coastal waters. Now, this is the third such vehicle of India, such ship of India, after INS Arnala and INS Androt. Okay, so INS Androt, INS Arnala, and Anjadeep, they belong to the same category. If there is any question related to this, you will know. It is named after the Anjadeep Island. Now, this island, it is located off the coast of a place known as Karwar, which is an important naval base of India. So Karwar, it is located in Karnataka, and Anjadeep, it is located just off coast of Karwar. And it is this island after which Anjadeep is named. Now, it is a part of a particular class of ships known as the Arnala class of ships. The first name was Arnala. So this entire class of ships has been named as Arnala class of ships. And these are trying to replace our previous less technologically abled Abhay class anti-submarine warfare corvettes. Corvettes are nothing but small ships. Small warships, they are known as corvettes. So the Arnala class is trying to replace the Abhay class anti-submarine ships of India. So what will be the functions? First, the coastal anti-submarine operations. So that in the coastal regions, if there is any submarine of any enemy nation, they can be targeted by this ship. Second, LIMO, that is low intensity maritime operations. High intensity maritime operations are what? Full on war with any other country. Low intensity maritime operations include operations like insurgency, counter terrorism, intelligence gathering, peacekeeping, assisting the defense forces in any way. So these kind of operations are known as low intensity maritime operations. Yes, Vimal, anti-piracy also comes under this. Then they can also lay mines in the coastal locations at particular places so that any external submarine, any enemy submarine, it can be destroyed. Then it can also conduct subsurface, below the oceanic surface surveillance. Surveillance, it can look out whether or not any kind of enemy vehicle it is moving around, any kind of enemy submarine is moving around under the surface of the ocean. Okay, so these are the four functions that will be conducted by Anjadeep. Mine laying means there are mines or bombs that can be laid in certain locations. If the submarine, if this is a mine that is located over here, okay, if a submarine it is going over this mine, then this submarine it will get blown up because this mine will blow up. Okay, so just like land mines, if someone steps on a landmine, what happens? The mine it blows up. Similar is the case in over here. Now, what about Sanshodhak? Sanshodhak, it is a word which very closely relates to researcher. So, Sanshodhak, it is the fourth survey vessel large, SVL, not survey large vessel, survey vessel large of Navy. After three other were released of this series, that is Sandhayak, Nirdeshak, and Ikshak. So this is the fourth SVL of India. Now this is being produced under the SVL project of India, which wants to replace the existing Sandhayak class ships. Now this is also Sandhayak, this is also Sandhayak. You will say that why are we replacing this ship which was released in 2021 only? See, there can be two ships of the same name, right? So this Shandhayak class ships, they were released between 1981 to 2002. The first Sandhayak ship that we had was released in 1981. It was later decommissioned, and in 2021 another ship with the same name was released. So it is, this project, SVL project, is to replace the existing Sandhayak class ships. That includes 8 ships that were launched between 1981 to 2002. Now, what will it do? What is the function of Sanshodhak and all these ships, these survey vessel large? Now, they consist of a variety of instruments that will help us in surveying or studying the ocean, our ocean spaces. Okay, so these instruments, these hydrographic instruments, they will help us in conducting any kind of oceanographic studies. So these ships, they were also doing the same work. However, there was an improvement in technology in this time. So the current ships under the SVL project, they have better technology of hydrographic instruments that have been installed, and they will help the Indian Navy in understanding the ocean space around us. Now, the secondary role of this, yes, ocean mapping also, they will do ocean mapping and other studies of the oceanic areas. The what kind of minerals can be available, what can be explored, and things like that. Now, secondary role of these ships include defense role. They can assist the navy in case there is any war that is ongoing, any kind of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations if we want to conduct, then these ships, they can be helpful for them. They can also be converted into hospitals in any case of emergency. If there is any accident, if there is any war going on, then these ships, they can also be converted into hospitals. So that is the role of Sanshodhak. Main role is research, surveying and research. Secondary role is as humanitarian assistance, defense, and conversion into hospitals. Yes, and these ships, they have been built by India. They have been indigenously constructed. Okay, so now comes our practice question. HADR, I'll just repeat. HADR means humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. If there is any disaster, say in India or in any other friendly nation like Maldives, then this ship, they can help in carrying any kind of commodities from India to there when we want to distribute those commodities there, or any other kind of relief work. They can help in carrying the injured people from one place to another over there. Okay, so those kind of work is humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. So next, the practice question. How many of the following statements are not true? Okay, not true. Focus on that. India will be buying MQ-9 Reaper from the US government. INS Anjadeep is an anti-submarine shallow water craft. INS Sanshodhak has been developed in collaboration with France. Okay. Just refresh your screen once if you're not able to see it. Okay. So we had to state which statements are not true. Okay. So I'll just tell you now. This is definitely correct. Yes, INS Anjadeep is an anti-submarine shallow water craft. Okay. So this is a correct statement. What about this? Are we buying it from US government? No, we are buying it from a private company. It is not a commodity of US government to sell. It is a private company that has developed MQ-9 and we will be buying it from it. Also, the decision to buy it hasn't been finalized as of now. The DSE has approved it, but the Cabinet Committee on Security is yet to approve it. Okay, so this is a wrong statement. What about this? This is definitely wrong. It has been indigenously developed, completely indigenously developed, both Anjadeep and Shanshoda. So this is also incorrect, and the correct answer, that is why, is B. We had to correct not true. We had to select not true statement. These are not true, so that means two statements are not true. Okay. So this becomes very important. You have to know whether it is true or not true. Yes, this was one thing that might have trapped many of you. Okay, so it is not US government, we are buying it from a private company. This will help in bringing that concept very rigidly in your mind. So next we come to this gender social norm index. Now this is a very simple topic. The United Nations Development Program, UNDP, which also releases what? The Human Development Index. So UNDP, it has recently released the GSNI, Gender Social Norms Index 2023. Now this is an index that measures the beliefs of people, that how social beliefs and various biases inside the minds of people, they affect gender equality in various categories of life, in various areas of life like politics, work and education. Now, the first time that this particular index was released was back in 2020, when the Human Development Index 2019 was also released. So basically, the GNSI, it tries to understand the perceptions amongst the people, the biases amongst the people. So it calculates these biases against women in four dimensions. What are these four dimensions? UNDP is United Nations Development Program. HDI is Human Development Index. Okay, it is released every year by United Nations Development Program. So HDI, it is released by UNDP. So this GNSI, it calculates the biases in the minds of both women and men against women across four dimensions. So what are these four dimensions? GNSI is gender, this GSNI, it is Gender Social Norms Index. So what are the dimensions? First is the political dimensions, whether women should get political freedom, whether or not they'll be good leaders. So women having same rights as men is essential for democracy. Is it or is it not? Whether women should get voting rights, same voting rights, same civil rights as men or not, in order to be called a democratic nation. Also, do men make better leaders compared to women? So these are the dimension indicators that are identified under the political dimension. Then we have the educational dimension. Is university study more important for men compared to women? Whether that is true or not. So everyone is asked such questions. Everyone is asked about these, both males and females. Okay. Then economic dimension includes men should have a more right to do a job compared to women. Whether this should be there, this should be true or not. Whether men make better business executives compared to women. Then the physical integrity. Whether it is justified to beat wives, whether it is justified for men to beat their wife, is abortion justified or not? So these kind of perceptions, they are identified amongst the people when such questions are asked to them. Now what about 2023? What all we got from this particular gender social norms index? The first thing that we identified was that compared to the last study, there was no improvement in gender biases against women in a decade. 9 out of 10 men and women, 9 out of 10 people, they still hold one or the other type of gender bias against women. Now, these can be men, they can be women who are holding such biases against the women. Now, data, where is the data taken from to conduct this study? See, it is not a primary study. It does not hold interviews for the people. It takes data that is already available to make the index. So, it takes data from 80 countries across the world, 80 countries and territories. Okay. From 80 countries and territories comprising of 85% of the global population. And it also takes data, it this particular GSNI, it took data from wave 6 or 7, whichever was available for that country, from World Value Survey. What this is, what do you understand by waves, I'll come to that in a minute. Okay, so just pin that thought in your head, we'll come to that. So the data, Sakib, the data, it is available either at a country level if it's available, or from World Value Survey. So from either of the places, this data is taken to develop the index. Now, according to this year's study, it was found that gender biases, they exist amongst the people regardless of which region they are living in, which kind of culture they are coming from, or what is their income level. So regardless of that, there are certain gender biases that exists among the people. In fact, it was also found that if any country has a it ranks high on the human development index, or it lies low on the human development index, it does not matter. The biases, they exist despite their rank on the human development index. Okay, so that was the finding. So these are the specific finding of the GSNI 2023. In terms of politics, 50% of people thought that men are better political leaders compared to women. So they had a bias that men will be better than women. Rest of the 50%, some might have thought that both are equal kind of leaders. Some might have thought that women might be better than men, but a majority thought that men are better than women. Also, currently, only 10% of the heads of the states or the governments, that is 10%, only 10% of presidents or prime ministers all across the world, they are women. In fact, this particular data, it has been stagnant. This indicator has been stagnant since 1995. It has not gone beyond 10%. Women also, they hold just 25% of the parliamentary seats globally. This has gone up 1%. In the previous GSNI, it was 24%. It has now come up to 25%. Also, women face harsher judgment when they are in politics compared to their male counterparts. Recently, there was a case about an MLA from Karnataka who was facing a very harsh judgment just because she chose to dress in a particular way when she was not in her official duty. Okay, so women, they generally face harsher judgment compared to men in politics. Next, about business. In business, 40% people thought that men make better executives than women. In fact, less than 33% of the total managerial positions in all the companies in the survey countries, they were being held by women. Okay, so they are making up 50% of the population, but less than 33% managerial positions are being held by them. Also, there exists a broken link between educational levels and economic empowerment. Now, please listen carefully. What do we mean by broken link? So, this means that even though in the past few decades, the educational level of women, it has improved way much. Okay, it has improved a lot, but still there exists a gap in the income. There exists a gender income gap between men and women, which is approximately 39% in favor of men. So this has been called as this broken link between educational levels and the economic empowerment between men and women. Then at a social level, it was identified that in the places where the levels of bias it is higher, in those places the women face additional burden with regards to domestic chores and care work. Domestic work like cooking food, like doing cleaning and other things, and care work, both child care as well as care of the senior citizens. So in the countries where the biases were higher, the burden of such work on women apart from their other work was also higher. Okay, it was expected that it is only women who have to take care of this work. Also, 25% of the men and women, they believed that man has a right to beat their wife. It was justified if the wife has committed any kind of mistake. So these were the findings of the global, of the gender social norms index. Chores, domestic chores means domestic work. Chores is basically work. Yes, India was a part of this survey. India was one of the countries under GSNI. So, Femina, in the world, the UNDP, it gets this data from this World Value Survey. Many of you are asking, how is UNDP getting this data? See, these 80 countries, some of these countries, they might have certain local surveys regarding such biases. So UNDP can get the data from these 80 countries directly. Apart from that, UNDP can also get data from the World's Value Survey. So what is World's Value Survey? World's Va- Okay, so please note that there is no ranking as such over here. Okay. So World Value Survey, it was started in the year 1981 in USA by Professor Ronald Inglehart. He was a professor of University of Michigan. So in this survey, it is clearly devoted to scientific and academic study of the values of people. Values, the social values of people, the political values, economic values, religious values, and cultural values of people. So it is trying to understand what all kind of values do the people have. So it is a extensive questionnaire is prepared under this, and that those kind of questions they are asked to various people. So as of now there are 120 countries where the World Values Survey it is conducted, and it consists of 94.5% of the total global population. Now this survey it is conducted in multiple waves of 5 years. Every 5 years in a wave it is conducted. Okay, so right now what we have available is wave 6 and wave 7 data. So it is conducted in waves every 5 years, 120 countries of 94.5% population. So all that is covered under the World Values Survey. Okay, so this topic you are asking, this topic is related to social issues. You do not need to learn this data as such, but this kind of questions they can be asked, or any kind of question with various statements. The global social norm index of this year, it was based in 80 countries, it received its data from World Value Survey, and so on. Such kind of questions they can come. Okay, so it was started, please note, it was first released in 2020 along with Human Development Index 2019. Okay, so first released in 2020 for the data for 2019. So this is the question, very easy one. I'll just give you 10 seconds for this one. See, World Value Survey was started in 1981, but Gender Social Norms Index was started when 2020. So most of you have given the correct answer. It is UNDP. It was a very direct question. Okay. So now we come to the next topic, which is about strategic oil reserves in salt caverns. Salt caves, basically. Caverns and caves, they are quite interchangeable words. So why is it in news? Is because the government of India, it is conducting a study which is being conducted by a government of India PSU known as Engineers India Limited. So this PSU, it is conducting a study to develop strategic oil reserves in the state of Rajasthan in salt caverns. Again, I'll repeat, GSNI, it started, the first time it was published in 2020, okay? Cavern is nothing but a small cave. Sorry, a large cave, a large deep cave. So, first let us understand about what are strategic oil reserves and does India have them? So, strategic oil reserves are certain oil reserves. So, India imports most of its oil. So we store some of this oil so that in case these imports they get impacted, we are not able to import oil for some reason, we have certain amount of oil available with us to be used before the imports they can be again restarted. Those problems they can be resolved and imports can be restarted. So these are strategic oil reserves. Now, what is the need for India to have strategic oil reserves? Now, India, please note, it is the world's third largest consumer of crude oil, and more than 85% of our oil, crude oil, it is imported from other country. So we have a huge dependency on imports. So in case any kind of problem occurs, there is some war or there is any technical issues because of which there is no import of oil, we are not able to import the oil, then what will happen? We will be left without any kind of oil. So that is why we need to make these reserves, so that in such contingency situations we have certain reserves of oil available for our needs, right? In fact, the International Energy Agency, the IEA, it recommends all the countries to hold emergency stockpiles of oil, to have certain strategic oil reserves to cover up to 90 days of imports. Okay, so IEA, it is a recommendation of this global agency, Global Energy Agency, also known as International Energy Agency, to have at least 90 days of import stockpile. So if India is importing 100 liters every day, then we should at least have a strategic reserve of 9,000 liter within India. So even if these imports they are not able to come to India, we are not able to import this oil, we have oil for the next 90 days. So within 90 days we'll get enough time to resolve any kind of problems that are being caused and that are causing the imports to fail. We'll come to how many reserves we have, what is the capacity, we'll come to that. Okay, be patient. Now, this was first developed after the oil crisis of 1970s. So 1970s taught us that if there is any kind of issue in the Middle East region, there can be a big oil crisis in the world, which will impact the economies very adversely, right? So that is why this idea, it came into being after the 1973 oil crisis. So there was in the year 2005, there was a special purpose vehicle that was developed under the Ministry of Petroleum, under a particular agency known as Oil Industry Development Board. So under Ministry of Petroleum, we have this agency. Under this agency, we have this India Strategic Petroleum Reserve Limited. which is the agency responsible for managing our strategic petroleum reserves, strategic oil reserves. Okay. So OIDB, please note, it was developed in 1974. It came into being in 1974, just after 1973 oil crisis. So what happened is that after this oil crisis, India decided that we need to develop our indigenous industry for petroleum, both extraction and refining. So OIDB, it came into being. Later on, it was realized that we need strategic reserves as well. So OIDB was handling this, but after that, a agency that was focused only on this work was established in 2005. So any kind of oil, if it needs to be released from the strategic reserve, SPV is special purpose vehicle. Please note, IEA and IAEA are different. This is International Energy Agency. IAEA is International Atomic Energy Agency. IAEA handles all nuclear related issues. It checks whether the countries, they are not using the nuclear fuel for constructing their weapons. Okay, so IAEA is different from IEA, Oil Industry Development Board. So any kind of oil, if it needs to be released from these strategic reserves, it can be released only after an approval from a committee that is created by the government of India. Okay, so government will create an empowered committee that can take decisions for removal or extraction of any oil from these reserves. In fact, in 2021, late 2021, India decided to release some amount of oil from its reserves. It released around 5 million barrels of oil from its reserves as a move that was in coordination with the major oil consuming countries led by USA. This move was against the decision of the major oil producing companies to reduce the amount of oil that they are producing. Okay, so India in late 2021, it released 5 million barrels of oil. Now, what about India's strategic oil reserves? Do we have them? How many do we have? What is the capacity? All your questions will be answered in this slide. Now, currently we have three strategic oil reserves with a capacity of 5.33 million metric tons, which is equivalent to 39 million barrels. Now, compare that to the capacity of USA. USA has a capacity of strategic oil reserves of 727 million barrels. We have 39 million barrels. So currently we have three reserves, one in Mangaluru, which is in Karnataka, which has 1.5 million metric ton capacity. Then Padur, which is again in Karnataka with a capacity of 2.5 MMT. Then we have Vishakhapatnam, which is in Andhra Pradesh with a capacity of 1.33 MMT. Now we have realized that we need more reserves. We need to increase our number of reserves. So that is why two additional reserves, they have been approved. They have received an in principle approval for their construction in the public-private partnership mode. In the PPP mode. So what are these two additional ones? We have Chandikhol in Odisha, which will have a capacity of 4 MMT. And we again have another one coming in Padur in Karnataka itself, 2.5 MMT. Now, please note that all of these strategic reserves that we currently have, they are rock caves. So there was a rocky place which was extracted, and in this extracted place the oil is being stored. Okay, so these are rock caves. Now rocks can be extracted using techniques like drilling, excavation, minor explosions, right? So it is usually in rock caves right now that we have all of these reserves. Many of these, they can be old mines as well. Okay. So please note that right now, all of the strategic oil reserves, they are in rock caverns. We are trying to explore the salt caverns. Okay. So currently, the strategic petroleum reserves of India, they are enough, 5.33 MMT, they are enough only for 9.5 days of our needs. Only 9.5 days, okay? However, please note that apart from the strategic petroleum reserves, our oil producing companies, our oil marketing companies, they also have reserves equivalent to 64.5 days. So in total, we have reserves equivalent to 74 days. However, IEA said that we need to have reserves equivalent to 90 days, right? So that is why we want to increase our strategic petroleum reserves. Now, why salt caverns? Why not the rock caverns? See, salt caverns, storing, creation of the salt caverns and storage of oil in these caverns, it is cheaper, it is less labor and cost intensive compared to the rock caverns. Rock caverns, their excavation, it is a difficult process. You need to break the rocks, you need to excavate the rocks, you need to remove the rocks, and only then the cavern can be created. Compare that to salt cavern creation via solution mining. Now, in this case, what is done is that such locations are chosen where the ground, it is made up of salty material that is soluble in water. If you remember karst topography, you all must have read about karst topography in geography, right? It is these topography, it is created in locations where the rocks, they are soluble in water. So this leads to what? Creation of underground caves in these locations. In these caves, you have stalactites, stalagmites, karst pillars, and so on, right? So it is the similar way in which solution mining is done. This area, it is made up of material which is soluble in water. So water, it is inserted over here so that this particular region, it gets dissolved in water, and this can be excavated out, this solution can be excavated out. So we get this particular gap which is available under the ground. So eventually more water can be pumped in and brine can be taken out, the solution can be taken out, so this will increase in size. So solution mining, karst topography, it occurs in certain very specific regions which have limestone rich soils. Now limestone, it is easily dissolvable in water, so that there is creation of very specific type of topography in that region. Similarly, salt mining is doing what? It is creating a solution, and through that it is excavating the material out and creating the caves in which the oil can be stored. Okay. Rashi, yes, it is very much essential that wherever these petroleum reserves, they are present, those locations, they should have less seismic activity. Okay, so any location where these caves, they will be created in such a manner that there is not much seismic activity. So rock caverns, they are developed via excavation, but salt caverns, they can be created via a easy way, that is solution mining. So their creation, it is faster, simpler, and cheaper, and less labor intensive. Now these caves, these salt caves, Isaac, I'm coming to your point of leakage. So these salt caves, they are naturally well sealed. So this cave, it is well sealed, so it does not allow for any kind of leakage. Why are they well sealed? Because the salt that is lining these caves, the location is chosen in such a manner that the salt that is present in this location and that will be lining these caves, it has very low oil absorbency. That means it does not easily absorb any kind of oil. So these caves, they will be naturally insulated and there won't be any leakages from these caves. So these caves, they will be naturally well sealed. Pulkit, I hope your question is also answered. And they will allow for rapid extraction and injection of oil in these caves compared to the rock caves. Okay, how this will be done, we'll cover in the next slide. Also, it is possible to construct these salt caves and operate them with minimum involvement below the surface. So no one will have to go under the surface to operate or create these kind of caverns. Compare that to rock caverns. For that, there is a need to go below the surface. So human life, it is also threatened in case of rock caverns. Also, apart from petrol, that is the liquids, it can also be used for storage of gases like natural gas, like compressed air and compressed hydrogen. So it can be used for creation of other kind of strategic reserves as well. Vivek, these are anthropogenic constructions only, okay? We are storing them under the ground in the caves that have been made by us, by humans. Yes, Shilpa, the oil present in these caves, they will have similar quality like oil reserves. They can be taken out of these caves, refined and then sent further. SPR means strategic petroleum reserves. Karan, it is crude oil that will be stored and it can be later taken out and refined. Now the machinery, Sakib, we'll come to the machinery now. So how the solution mining will take place? See, water, it will be pumped in the rock. Now this water, it will dissolve the surrounding salts and create what? Water plus soil plus salt, it will create what? Brine or salty water. And brine, it can be taken out. This will lead to creation of the caves. Now in this case, the oil, it can be inserted. Now the density of oil, it is less than the density of the brine or water, right? So that is why the oil will float up and the brine or water, it will stay down. Now if we want to extract the oil out of this cave, what we'll do, we'll push in brine or water again inside this cave, and this will lead to oil being pushed up into its pipe and getting out. Okay, so there can be easy insertion and extraction of the oil from these caves. I'll repeat it once again. Okay, so this is the land. We want to create a cave over here. We'll put some water here. So the water will dissolve the salt. And this salt solution, it will be taken out. Okay. This has led to creation of a small cave. Now, if we pump more water, the size of this cave, it will keep on increasing, right? So the cave has been built of a desired capacity, right? Now what will happen? We will, the cave has been built. Now cave, it might have certain amount of brine that is present there. Not all water will be extracted out. So the oil, it can be now put in. Now the oil, it will float above the water. Why? Because oil's density is less than water or brine, right? Now if we want to extract the oil, what we'll do? We will put some more brine inside it, inside the cave. Now when this amount of brine increases, it will go up. This oil, it will be pushed up, and it can now be extracted out of this cave. Okay, so this is how oil can be put inside and taken out of these caves without any subsurface operations. Everything can be done above the surface. We just have to pump water in and pump water out in order to put the oil in or get the oil out. You pump in, pump the water in. This will help in extraction of oil. If you pump the water out, you can put more oil inside. Okay, so this is a very simple technique. Brine is this water plus salt solution. No, Gaurav, the salt, it is the area is chosen in such a manner that the salt present there, it does not react with the oil. It has minimal interaction, minimal absorption of oil. Now, what is the potential of salt caverns in India? See, Rajasthan, the state of Rajasthan has many such rock formations which are made up of salt. Okay, so that is why we are trying to explore this capacity in the state of Rajasthan. Moreover, recently a oil refinery, it has come up in Barmer, and there is a development of a good pipeline system for transportation of oil in Rajasthan. So that is why it is very easy that this in the salt caverns, this oil, it can be put, and whenever required, it can be sent through these pipelines to Barmer for refining, and then it can be sent to the market. So that is why we are trying to explore this process in the state of Rajasthan. However, right now, no Indian company has the required knowledge for this technology. So, the Engineers India Limited, the company that is conducting this exploration, it has tied up with a German company known as Deep KBB GmbH. Don't ask me for the full form, you don't need to know, because even I don't know, it was very difficult. Okay, so they have collaborated or tied up with this German company to access this technology. Now, this German company, it specializes in solution mining as well as cavern storage. Dikshit, okay, so Dikshit has asked why Mangalore and Padur were chosen for strategic oil reserves, because they had good rock formations where this oil, it could be stored. Okay, so this company, it is specializing in solution mining, and it specializes in cavern storage. Okay, so the EIL, it has tied up with this company for technology transfer, so as to develop India's potential regarding these salt caverns and related petroleum reserves. Okay, so that was about it. Now we come to the question. Divya, Rajasthan was not chosen for strategic reserves as of now because it does not have those kind of rocks which are present in the locations where we currently have the reserves. Rajasthan has salty rocks, right? And they can be used for salt cavern storages, not rock cavern storages. Now, practice question is, consider the following statements regarding the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Program of India. The construction of the strategic crude oil storage facilities in India is being managed by Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserve Limited. It is wholly owned subsidiary of Oil Industry Development Board under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So you'll be getting 15 seconds for this one. Okay, you have to choose the correct statement. Okay, perfect. Most of you have chosen the correct answer, that is C. This has been explained already. ISPRL, it is managing the construction of these reserves in India, and it is a subsidiary of Oil Industry Development Board of India. Okay, so C is the correct answer. Now the next topic is about the Palki festival. Palki. Okay. So this festival, it is held every year in the month of Jyesht. Okay, in Hindu calendar there is a month of Jyesht which usually coincides with the month of June. Now this year, the delegates of the G20 Digital Economy Working Group Conference, they got to observe this festival, and that is why this festival, it was specially in news this year. Now, about the festival, why is it celebrated? See, it is a 1,000-year-old tradition which is celebrated by Varkaris. So this tradition, it started during the Bhakti movement, and it is celebrated by a sect of people known as Varkaris. Now, Varkaris, they worship Lord Vithoba, who is also known as Lord Vitthal or Panduranga. Okay, so he is an incarnation, not exactly an incarnation, a form of Lord Krishna. Okay, so Varkaris, they worship Lord Vithoba or Lord Vitthal, who is a form of Lord Krishna. This is a 1,000-year-old tradition started during the Bhakti movement. So these people, so this festival, it is associated with the worship of Lord Vithoba or Lord Vitthal and his consort, that is goddess Rukmini. Now, in this festival, there is a 22-day long yatra or pilgrimage where the people, they move from Pune, the district Pune, various places in the district of Pune, to Pandharpur. Now, Pandharpur, it is a seat of God Vithoba. So that is why the people, they move for this pilgrimage for 22 days from one place to this place known as Pandharpur. Now the pilgrims, they walk with palkis. Palkis are what? Chariots. They walk with chariots with have the padukas, that is the sandals or the slippers of various saints. There are two very important saints for this, for whose padukas they are carried in these palkis. They are Gyaneshwar and Tukaram saints. Okay, so for Saint Gyaneshwar, this yatra, this pilgrimage, it starts from a place known as Alandi. And for Saint Tukaram, it starts from a place known as Dehu. Okay, so pilgrims in this particular festival, they carry the palkis with the sandals and move from one place to Pandharpur. Now, this tradition of keeping the padukas, it is a new addition to Palki festival. Earlier, the padukas were not kept, but in 1675, the youngest son of Saint Tukaram, Sri Narayan Baba, he started this tradition of keeping the padukas. Now, earlier, the palkis of both Saint Dhaneshwar and Saint Tukaram, they were carried together, but later on there was a split into two groups, and so that is why they start from two different places within the district of Pune, and they meet within Pune for a short pause, and then they separate at a place known as Hadapsar, and finally they reunite again at Wakri, a place which is very near to the final destination, that is Pandharpur. They start from a different place, meet for a while, then separate, and then again meet for a while and reach the Pandharpur region. Now, during this procession, this is not a silent procession. This is full of a lot of activity. So the Varkaris, they sing the devotional songs and bhajans which are dedicated to their Lord Vithoba. And there is a lot of vibrant and festive atmosphere all around these yatras. Okay. So they finally reached Pandharpur on the Ekadashi, on the 11th day. On the 11th day of the month of Ashad. So it is starting in the month of Jesht and it ends in the month of Ashad. Okay, these are Hindi months, okay, Hindi calendar months. Now, they engage in a bath in the Chandrabhaga river or the Bhima river before they finally go to the Vitthal temple to pay their visit. Okay, so they reach there, they take a bath, and after taking a bath, they go to the temple. So this is the entire 22-day process. And yes, this is a major festival of the state of Maharashtra. All these places we talked about, they are in Maharashtra. So now we have a practice question. I hope this is clear to all of you. Yes. So consider the following pairs of tradition and the community. Chaliha Sahib Festival, Sindhis. Nandaraj Jat Yatra by Gonds. Vari Varkari by Santhals. Palki Festival by Varkaris. How many of these are correctly matched? Okay. So let us come to the answer. Most of you were able to give it correctly. See, Chaleha Sahib festival, it is a very important festival of the Sindhi community. So this is correctly matched. Nandaraj Jat Yatra, it is not a festival of Gonds. Gonds is a tribe. It is not a festival of Gonds. It is celebrated in the state of Uttarakhand. So this is incorrect. Vari Varkari it is similar to Palki festival. It is also a festival of the Varkharis. Okay, so this is incorrect and this is correct. So two pairs they are correctly matched and a correct answer is only B. Yes, Palki festival is also known as Vari festival regionally. Okay, so these are basically same thing. So it was added to confuse you basically. Now the last topic, which is about places and news. Two places we have taken. One is Dodoma and the other is Nova Kakhova Dam. Now many of you must know about Nova Kakhova. It has been in news for some time as of now. First, let us understand why Dodoma was in news. Now Dodoma, it has full-fledgedly become the capital of the country Tanzania in Africa. Okay. What is the history of Dodoma? So earlier, what happened is that the German colonists, Germany had colonized Tanzania till the year 1961. So the German colonists, they had established a place known as Dar es Salaam, which is still a very important port of Africa as their capital because they wanted to use its coastal location for their exports and other stuff. In 1973, the first president of Tanzania, 1961, they got the independence. In 1973, the then first president of Tanzania, he conducted a public referendum whether the people they want to change the capital from Dar es Salaam. So many of the people they said that yes, they want to change it, and the location Dodoma, it was finally decided to be established as a capital of this country. In 2017, after a very long duration, finally the parliament of this country, it was shifted from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma. And in May 2023, there was the inauguration of the new presidential offices. So most of the government offices, they have been now shifted from Dar es Salaam, shifted out of that place to Dodoma, and it has now become a full-fledged capital of Tanzania, a working capital of Tanzania. So you can see here is Dar es Salaam at this coastal location, and here is Dodoma. It has a more central location. Yes, it took almost 50 years for this change to take place. Now, what was the need for this shift? Dodoma is a place in Tanzania, okay? The need for this shift was first, there was excessive overcrowding in Dar es Salaam. So there was a lot of pressure on the infrastructure as well. The population of this place is approximately 5.8 million, and it is the most populous city of Tanzania. So, to reduce this overcrowding and strain on infrastructure on Dar es Salaam, there was a need to shift the capital out. Also, there was uneven development that was experienced in Tanzania. Only the coastal locations they were getting developed. The central part and the western part, it was not seeing any development. So, to make development more even, there was a need to shift the capital out. Moreover, accessibility and national unity. This is one very important reason why they wanted a central location. The capital, it should be accessible to all the people living all across the country. So that is why it is required that it was to be placed in a more central location. Moreover, this will also increase the efficiency of the government operations. Now, the government officials, if they want to travel in any other locations of the country, the cost will be less, the time taken will be less, there will be a more control of the government in the way their policies and programs are being implemented, because they are now at a very central location. So these were the reasons which were considered for the shift to take place. Tanzania, please note, it is in east part of Africa. Now we come to the Nova Kakhovka Dam. Nova Kakhovka Dam, this dam, it has been destroyed. There was a blast and this dam has been destroyed beyond saving now. You can see how the first day when the dam was destroyed, how it was looking, to how much damage has been seen by the dam now. You can see a large part of dam is now gone, completely gone. So this dam, it was on Niper River in a place in the city known as Nova Kakhovka. See, Nova Kakhovka Dam means the dam in Nova Kakhovka. The name of the dam was Kakhovka Dam. It was located in the city of Nova Kakhovka, which is located in the Kherson Oblast or the Kherson region of Ukraine. Now, this region of Ukraine, it has been occupied by Russia. Now, Russia is saying that Ukraine did the blast. Ukraine is saying that Russia did it. There is no way. As of now, it has not been understood as to who was responsible for this particular blast. Okay. Now it has been completely destroyed beyond saving, and this is being called as an ecocide. What do you mean by ecocide? Ecocide, it is a mixture of two words, ecology and genocide. So it is basically, it means the destruction of environment as a weapon of war. Okay, so you will destroy the environment of a particular place so that that place becomes inhabitable for future as well. For the people, they have to flee away so that it can be easily occupied and the country, they can win the war. So this is known as ecocide, destruction of environment as a weapon of war. Now, what has been the impact of this particular blast? First of all, the very first impact will be what? The flooding of the towns, villages, and agricultural fields. So you can see this is the Kakhovka Dam. Okay, this is the Dnieper or Dnipro River, which eventually ends in Black Sea. So this dam, it was on this river. Suddenly this dam had blasted, so a lot of water got released and it started flooding this particular region. Next, water contamination due to chemicals, dead bodies of people and animals. Prerna, the dam is located in Ukraine. The dam is located in Ukraine. However, this region of Ukraine has been now occupied by Russia. There was water contamination. There was approximately 150 tons of machine oil in the dam, which was released in the water. Also, the water that flooded the agricultural field, it got contaminated by the chemicals of the agricultural field. Many of the industries located down the stream of the dam, chemicals within those industries also got released into the river. So there is a huge amount of water contamination that has taken place. Apart from that, many people and a lot of animals, they also perish because of this flooding. This flooding, it also almost affected 42,000 people, of which many, they are missing or dead. The dead bodies of these people, of the animals, it also led to contamination of water. Contamination, that is addition of, that is basically water pollution. Also, there were many landmines that were in this location. Okay, many landmines, they were placed in the war locations. What happens, usually landmines are placed by the military in order to attack the other side. So these landmines, many of them, they were placed in that location. However, this area, it got extensively flooded. So when the flooding happened, these landmines, they also got carried away downstream along with the river water. So these landmines, they are responsible, they can cause a lot of destruction in the downstream regions. Also, usually when the landmines, they are laid, the location of these landmines, they are specifically marked on maps so that the country who have laid it, they do not accidentally step on it. Now these landmines, they have been dislodged and we do not know where they have gone to. The location is no more with the Ukrainian camp. Apart from that, many tree species downstream, that is in this location downstream of the river, many tree species, they may perish completely because of prolonged flooding, because they are not used to this kind of environment. Okay, so trees like Crimean pine, common pine, white acacia, they might get perished in the downstream locations. Also, this might affect the marine ecosystem of Black Sea. So this river, it ends in the Black Sea, right? So this river, the water is contaminated. A lot of man-made objects, they are now floating in the water. So when this huge amount of water enters this location of Black Sea, the mouth of the river, then this might affect the marine environment of that location. Okay, also this will impact the global grain supplies. Already, because of Russian Ukraine war, the grain supplies was hit and there was an inflation in the agricultural sector. Okay, now what will happen, that around 100 square feet of farmland in Ukraine, which is also one of the major bread baskets of the world, it has now either been flooded or devoid of water. So this region has been flooded, which is surrounding the river. Also, please note that from this dam goes the North Crimean Canal. North Crimean Canal, it is used to irrigate many regions in the Crimean Peninsula. It is used for drinking water and other purposes. So many of the fields, they are either flooded or they do not have enough water for irrigation. So this year's crops, they are completely wasted now, and there will be a huge amount of inflation in agriculture this year because of this incident. So these are the impacts of this incident on the particular region and also on the global economy. So we have a practice question now. Consider the following country. Now these kind of questions, they are asked in UPSC, okay? Consider the following countries: Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania. How many of the above mentioned countries share a land border with Ukraine? Prabhakaran, I'll come to a question just in a while. Okay. So while everyone is polling, Prabhakaran has asked, is it necessary to remember these three species? You can remember the names. It is very easy. You have Crimean pine, common pine, and white acacia. Okay. So I'll tell you the answer. See, Ukraine has, to the north of Ukraine, we have Belarus. In north, we have Belarus. Okay. In the eastern side, we have Russia. In southwest, we have Moldova and Romania. Then to the western side, we have Hungary, Slovakia, and Poland. In the south side, what we have? We have two water bodies. We have Sea of Azov and we have Black Sea. Okay. So how many of these are asked over here? Bulgaria is not there. Czech Republic is not there. Hungary is there. Latvia is not there. Lithuania is not there. Romania is there. So that means two of the countries, they do border Ukraine. So your correct answer over here is option A. Okay. So with that, we come to an end to today's webinar. I hope you were able to understand everything we discussed over here. Do not forget to go through the PPT after the webinar so that the concepts, they get cemented in your head very nicely. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you very much and have a very good night. And okay, bye-bye.